Hi guys, this is gsndom.com and I'm here with 3 Windows Phone 8 handsets. Those are mid-range models. This is the Nokia Lumia 820, this is the HTC 8S, and this is the Huawei Ascend W1. As I said, all of them have Windows Phone 8 on board. This is a comparison, and in order to perform that comparison, I have set up all the devices to be on medium when it comes to the brightness and on the crimson theme. So as you can see, crimson theme and medium brightness on the Nokia, crimson theme as well on the HTC handset, and you can already notice some differences in brightness. So crimson and brightness is medium, and finally the Huawei, just showing you that so there won't be any controversy. Crimson and brightness medium. Okay, so that's it. Let's start the comparison between these 3 Windows Phone 8 devices. So what we're dealing with here is the price tag. First and foremost, we start with the cheapest, the Huawei Ascend W1. Price tag is $273. Next up is the HTC, $325, and then the big shot Nokia Lumia 820, $349. So the price tag differences is not that big, about $70 between the most expensive and the cheapest, 273, 325 and 349, the most expensive and the most featured handset as far as the specs are concerned. Okay, now let's do a design comparison. So you probably saw right here at gsndom.com the review of the Nokia Lumia 820. It has a polycarbonate case that can be removed by pulling from this corner right here. Actually pretty hard to remove if you ask me. It kind of wiggles, so the body of the phone wiggles inside this case if you do like this. It feels rather cheap. It's thick, 9.9 millimeters, and it weighs a huge 160 grams. Meanwhile, the HTC, it's basically a smaller HTC 8X. As you can see, a rounded design. It has a soft touch back. It has a non-removable battery, which may be a bummer for some. We also have this lid right here. Let's try to remove it, and if you remove it, you can access the microSD card slot and the microSIM card slot. It's an elegant design. Frankly, I prefer this to the Lumia, and it measures 10.3 millimeters in thickness, and although it's thicker than the Lumia, it doesn't look the part since it's more rounded. By the way, it weighs 113 grams, so almost 50 grams less than the Nokia. So this is the best design of the 3. And finally, the ugly one, if I can say so, is the Huawei model, 10.5 millimeters in thickness, so pretty thick, 130 grams, reasonably heavy. And I don't like this chin right here that separates the display panel from the plasticky body of the device. Totally plastic. By the way, this back area reminds me too much of the HTC One X. Could be copied from it, but I don't want to make accusation. Overall, it feels kind of flimsy in the user's hand, and the back cover is impossible to remove. Believe me, I have tried everything that is humanly possible, broke fingernails, and I just couldn't remove the back cover. Okay, now it's time for the hardware analysis, and let me start with the display. So the Lumia has a 4.3-inch display, AMOLED, resolution 480 over 800 pixels. It's a clear back display. There's no Gorilla Glass protection here. Next up is the HTC. We have a 4-inch screen, SLCD. The resolution is 480 over 800 pixels. By the way, same resolution on all 3 devices. This one has Gorilla Glass. And finally, the Huawei. Once again, 4-inch screen, IPS LCD this time, and the same resolution, 480 over 800 pixels. Now, as far as the CPU is concerned, well, let me start with the Huawei this time. So this Huawei handset, well, it comes with a Qualcomm Snapdragon dual-core MSM8230 processor. It's a 1.2 GHz CPU here with an Adreno 305 GPU. And next up, we're moving to the Lumia with a Qualcomm Snapdragon dual-core MSM8960 this time, 1.5 GHz, and the GPU Adreno 225. And finally, we got here the HTC with a Snapdragon dual-core 1 GHz CPU with Adreno 305 GPU, And I must mention that all three handsets have microSD card slots. And speaking of memory and such things, I must say that the Lumia brings 1 gig of RAM and 8 gig of storage. The Huawei brings 512 megabytes of RAM, 4 gig of storage, and so does the HTC handset. And now a very important part of this comparison is the battery life. So let's start with HTC this time. HTC brings a battery with a capacity of 1700 mAh that provides about 1 day of normal use. So that's the battery life of this phone, while the Lumia brings a lithium-ion 1650 mAh battery with a disappointing 8 to 10 hours of use, so it's below the HTC. And finally the Huawei, a pleasant surprise, it comes with a battery of 1950 milliamperes per hour. That should provide a bit over a day of use, so this has the best battery out of the three models mentioned here. And now once again to the hardware list. Let's look at the back this time. At the back of the HTC, 5 megapixel camera with LED flash. At the back of the Lumia we got an 8 megapixel camera here. And finally the Huawei phone, well, this one also 5 megapixel camera with LED flash. From what I can see, this model has a dual LED flash, so that's another big advantage. Powerful flash, 8 megapixel dual LED, the other two 5 megapixel and a single LED flash. Also front cameras, well, HTC has none, so no front cameras on the HTC. On the Lumia, VGA front camera, and on the Huawei, VGA front camera yet again. Now as far as connectivity goes, well, the Lumia comes with HSDPA connectivity with a maximum speed of 42 megabytes per second. It has LTE, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 3.1 and NFC. So all the connectivity options available. Huawei, in the meantime, it has HSDPA with half the speed of the Lumia, 21 megabits per second, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 2.1. So it leaves out LTE and NFC. Finally HTC, HSDPA, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 3.1. So the best one when it comes to connectivity is the Lumia. And now I have a section that I like to call extras. What extras this model bring? Well, the Lumia comes with Dolby, and aside from the audio Dolby technology, it has Nokia Maps and Nokia Drives. Those are its extras. Meanwhile, HTC comes with Beats Audio, as shown here, while Huawei, sadly, there's no extra when it comes to this model, maybe the cheap price tag. Okay, now it's time for the audio test. I will analyze the audio performance of all devices and describe the headphones to you. We already saw them in the unboxing, no need for clutter on the table. So let's go to the app we like to call MetroTube, my favorite app on the whole Windows Phone 8 experience. The volume is 20 out of 30. We have a singular speaker here. And let's go to HD. Let's turn up the volume. And now some conclusions. Well, the Lumia, I have to say that it has great headphones, very comfortable headphones. It has a loud volume. Sadly, it will distort the sound at the maximum volume, but in the songs that have voice in them, the voice is very clear. Also, the bass is pretty weak. Advantages here are the settings, in which we find some options as far as the audio is concerned. So let me take you there. As you can see, here we are. Loading. We got the equalizer and the Dolby, but for this you need to connect the headphones. So these are extras compared to the other handsets. Conclusion: clear voice, weak bass, loud volume, and distortion at maximum levels. Okay, now moving further to the HTC. This one comes with uncomfortable to use headphones. keep that in mind. They're tough to place in the ear, but the volume is pretty solid. The bass is also good, there's no distortion, it's very loud. Let's listen to the same song. Here it is. Listening first to volume 20 out of 30 and then full volume. HD. Here we have a bigger speaker. As you can see, this entire area is a speaker. And now the maximum volume. Okay, the conclusion is that this is better than the Lumia, if you ask me, because it has a better bass, it has no distortion, and it's reasonably loud. And finally, the last guest, the Huawei. This one has okay headphones when it comes to inserting them into the ear. And let's see how it does with the audio playback. Metro Tube, wait again. I can already tell you it offers a warmer voice, but it has a weak bass. It has distortion, and the sound is slightly metallic, which can be a bummer for some people. Same tune, different handset. So we're playing it and let's see how it does. Let's start with volume 20 out of 30. Let's go to HD and turn the volume to the max. The speaker is here. So as you can hear, much more distorted, much less bass. So the winner here is surprisingly the HTC when it comes to the audio experience. After audio, there's always the video. So let's prep them for a new experience. This is probably one of the most important experiences. I am going to use Metro Tube yet again, this time for a trailer, in order to showcase the features of the display. So remember that this is the cheapest handset of the trio. And let's search for a trailer for a brand new movie. Pacific Rim. And finally on the Huawei model. Okay, so we're all set. All three handsets have found the trailer. So here it is, the official main trailer, and official main trailer. Let's go to landscape. And play all three of them at the same time so you can figure out what's happening. I'm going to turn down the volume so they won't confuse you with the overlapping sounds. And finally this one. It's kind of hard to get used to the placement of the volume buttons on this side. Okay, so ready to play them. The big one at the top and the smaller ones at the bottom, 4 inches, 4.3 inch. So let's try to play them all at the same time. So now I'm going to start telling you about them. The Lumia has an RGB stripe AMOLED screen with good brightness. The Lumia is obviously the brightest one, as you can see. Let's take them 2 by 2. So Lumia and HTC, same trailer, different devices. And now the Lumia and the Huawei. The advantage of the Huawei handset is that it has more natural colors, but it's more washed out. As you can see, the image is slightly yellowish and washed out. However, the colors are natural. And now let's see. Viewing angles, as you can see here, excellent. Let's see the HTC. Viewing angles, well, could be a bit better. And this one, it's an IPS, so I expect a lot from it, but once again, could be a bit better. Of course, the Lumia wins this. It stands out to brightness, but this one, the Huawei, stands out to natural colors. And HTC, you'll notice that it has a slight oversaturation of colors. It tends to exaggerate a bit with the colors in the trailer. Okay guys, this is it. The Lumia wins, and on second place the HTC, but barely. If you want oversaturation, got HTC. If you want natural colors but a washed out screen, we have Huawei. So it's up to you when it comes to the display. And now I'm going to talk about the camera of the three handsets. I have used 4 tests to compare them. Once again, 8 megapixels on the Lumia, 5 megapixel on the HTC, 5 megapixel on the Huawei phone. And let's see, the first test was the normal day shot, the shot every one of you has taken. So I did 2 shots. This is shot number 1 and shot number 2 near this tent. And on the HTC, the very same shots. Shot number 1 and shot number 2. And finally on the Huawei, the same. This is once again normal daylight in the month of May. Nothing unusual, nothing fancy. So the very same place in 2 versions, or better, 3 versions. And now the conclusions as far as the day test is concerned. Lumia, oversaturated but clear, slightly whitish, as you can see here, a slight exaggeration of the white. Okay, so here we have pretty realistic colors on the HTC. That's the impressive part, realistic colors. Although in the video playback they were oversaturated, now they're realistic. Very good clarity here. Just look at this poster with the butterflies and look at it here. As you can see, whitish and oversaturated. And finally on the Huawei, it's with a hint of yellow on top of it for some reason, but still reasonably clear. This round is won surprisingly by the HTC. This was the daylight test, and now here comes the macro test. In the macro test I used a piece of orange and a butterfly. So here's the macro of that piece of orange and the butterfly. Excellent on the Lumia. Meanwhile, the HTC doesn't even have a macro feature, and I really tried to get that shot right. I actually tried a lot. So as you can see, various frames with a butterfly on top of the orange. This one is the best of them, but still not exactly macro, since the feature isn't even here. And finally on the Huawei, the attempt was reasonably successful. We do have a macro feature on this handset. The Lumia has an excellent macro. The HTC cannot do a decent macro. Meanwhile, the Huawei does a pretty okay macro since it has the option activated. Now it's time for the video test. I have filmed the same thing with all 3 devices, which is a monument that I'm going to show you immediately. And here we are. Same fountain, different place. Okay, so take number 1, the Lumia. And take number 2, the HTC. Same place, same day, same fountain. And finally take number 3, the Huawei. Same fountain, same day. Okay, now some conclusions about the filming on these 3 devices. Well, I have to say that the Lumia video is crisp, bright and stable, good stabilizer, excellent brightness and very crisp filming. Since this can do full HD capture, I decided to only do HD in order to give this handset a chance. This one can do maximum HD capture and this one also maximum HD, so I kept this one HD as well and not full HD. The HTC's capture was very bright and very clear, surprising for a 5 megapixel camera, while this one tends to lose focus a bit, the Huawei, and is slightly yellowish and pretty bad for the focus thing. This one were actually reasonably close, 5 megapixel versus 8 megapixel, and kudos to the HTC camera for such a nice shot. And now it's time for the final test of the camera area. This one is probably the most challenging, the night shot. So the night shot has 2 stages, one with a flash and one without flash. So a church with flash, so here's a church by night with flash, and here a shot without a flash but with a lamp post nearby. And here's the same scene on the Lumia, same place, same night. These ones are done with flash and this one is done without flash, still very decent. And finally the worst of the bunch is the Huawei whitish and yellowish hue at night. This one is without flash and you can barely see anything, it's noisy. And now some conclusions. Okay, so at night the Lumia with flash does some very clear shots and also without flash, although they're pretty grainy without the flash, while the HTC has a lot of noise in its picture with or without the flash. And finally the Huawei picture with the flash. I admire the clarity and lack of noise, but it's slightly yellowish, while without the flash there's not a point even in comparing it. So obviously the Lumia wins it, but the HTC is decently close behind, especially in video capture. So if you want to film with the HTC, since it's very good, or better said reasonably good for a handset with a 5 megapixel camera. The Huawei kind of failed this test. Okay, now as far as software goes, all of them have Windows Phone 8. Some have additions, and by additions I mean extra apps. Obviously the Lumia wins by far. We get a huge amount of apps here. We get Angry Birds Roost, app highlights, we get a Creative Studio, we get Nokia Drive, Nokia Maps, all this extra. We get Nokia City Lens, we get Dolby, you get turn-by-turn navigation for life, offline maps, and this is the Cinema Graph. We also have the Creative Studio and a ton of stuff from Nokia on this device. And then comes HTC with only some minor feature. We got Beats Audio that you can activate. We also have this sort of HTC hub with the weather, the stock, the news, and that's pretty much it. And then comes a feature called Photo Enhancer. This one dates from back in the days of the very first Windows Phone handset made by HTC. So Photo Enhancer allows you to edit some pictures with some filters and some options. That's pretty much it. Those are the only apps that are unique to this handset. Finally, Huawei doesn't offer any extras as far as software is concerned. Lumia wins the software battle with its Drive, Maps, Cinema Graph, Creative Studio, and City Lens, and a bunch of other features. We have Smart Shoot and a ton of Nokia apps you can download from the store. And now we cannot forget about the benchmarks, so that's why I have some for you. Of course, don't expect much from these benchmarks. I hardly believe that they are adapted to Windows Phone, but they may tell us a decent story about the performance of the device. So screenshots. Okay, so let's start with the Nokia handset. This one scored, as you can see, in Antutu it scored 11,610 points. That's Antutu. And meanwhile, in the same Antutu, only 6,600 on the HTC and 9,000 on the Huawei. So Nokia wins, then Huawei, then HTC in Antutu. Moving further, in Browser Mark 2.0, 1,700 points on the Lumia, 1,400 points on the HTC, 1,732 points on the Huawei. So Lumia and Huawei close, HTC behind. Finally, the Sun Spider test, the lower the better. 900 points here on the Lumia, close to iPhone level by the way, decent performance. 1,400 on the HTC, once again failing the test, and 1,125 failing the same way. So these are all the benchmarks that I did on this handset, and now we're drawing to a close. Hope you like this comparison here at gsndon.com. What I don't like about HTC is that at some point these capacitive buttons will get seen through the case, so their whitish light will be seen in a very cheap way through this case, and that I don't quite like. You see these lights get activated, all bright, and they shine to the plastic in a cheap way. Those are the weak points of the handset. So this one has this weak point. Nokia has a strange amount of lag, so when you want to open an app all of a sudden, or when you want to take a picture quickly with the shutter, for some reason it takes a much longer while than you're used to. Huge lag. Still waiting, and finally the picture was taken. So this one has the lag as weak point, this one has some design flaws as weak point, and this one you cannot remove its back cover except if you want to break a nail. So time for the conclusion. Nokia wins the comparison, it gets a 9 out of 10 for the brilliant screen, brilliant camera and extra apps. Second place HTC, 8 points. It has a very good design. The design is actually better than the Lumia's. It has a very good camera for a 5 megapixel camera and better audio in some aspects than the Lumia. Some aspects, not all of them. Finally, the Huawei is third place out of 3, a grade of 7 out of 10. The price tag is the only appeal, and maybe the battery beats the other two models. So if you want the cheap phone and the one that doesn't give you any software extras, Huawei is for you. If you want a midway between these two, HTC is the one, and if you want the full package for a bit more price, well, the Lumia offers a great screen, great camera and a nifty bunch of apps. That's it from gsndon.com. Hope you like this lengthy comparison. We'll be back with more soon. Bye bye.